JP, great to see you. And that
Good to
little
see you.
face behind you,
Yeah.
Daisy. And she's not just your best mate, she's actually very, very important for Natalia's mental health.
Yeah, she's been fantastic, obviously, as preventing anxiety attacks with my wife, and probably me during that journey too,
And you're here in the UK.
where I would say settling in as much as possible, still not quite feeling like we know where we are, but our hearts and minds are very much still in Odessa, Ukraine. And we're just sorting ourselves out. My wife, Natalya, is due very soon. So we've had ultrasound recently, and we're getting ourselves sorted. Everything so far is looking good.
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning then. You, your wife Natalia, who's 8 months pregnant, and little Daisy, you've been living in Odessa.
That's right. Yeah, we've been there just over a year. We got married last year and have really settled into life there. We bought an apartment, renovated it, finished, I would say, in the autumn of last year. And I've got to meet all her family and friends, and love them. Amazing people, as everyone is learning about Ukrainian people. Just astounding character, and humor in the face of goodness knows what. They still manage to keep their humor and positivity. So yeah, feeling very at home there, and it's been obviously a shock as to what's been happening lately.
Daisy, how did she come into your lives?
Natalia's sister-in-law and brother, they breed dogs. We promised ourselves once we settled down in the Ukraine that I'd get a little dog. I'm the one with the little dog, and Natalya would get a larger dog. So we're battling now who owns Daisy. We went to her brother's home and we met the litter, and it was clear that Daisy was meant to be with us. She did choose us, actually. She has an amazing character, kind of set aside. She was the runt of the litter. You could tell she was very smart, and just the dog we were looking for not only companionship but also to help with the issues that we've been facing.
The three of you lived very happily in Odessa. You were very settled there. What's it like?
Yeah. It's a very lively place and a very family orientated community. Everyone walks everywhere. You see them through the summer and even into the winter. They're meeting up and paying each other visits and stuff. So there's a real community spirit, which it was one of the endearing things about being in the Ukraine.
When did you make that gut wrenching decision that you needed to leave?
Well, really, it was as the situation was deteriorating. I wanted to at least start preparing to obtain a visa for Natalia, so we had an avenue to evacuate. Um, but due to the process of actually obtaining that visa, as we were sort of sitting around waiting in Ukraine, the situation rapidly got worse with the invasion. It was just really, we need to move. It's funny, we didn't want to leave, but it was obvious that they were going to close the airports and that transport through Ukraine was going to become very, very difficult. I believe that we managed to get through to Lviv and then on towards Poland, probably just before things got very, very dangerous.
Was there ever a question mark about whether you would take Daisy with you or not?
There was. We were never going to leave Daisy behind, obviously. There was maybe a possibility that Daisy could go with Natalia's family to Moldova. But to be honest, I and Natalya wanted to make sure Daisy was safe. And also, Daisy, again, provided that security and support to Natalya in particular that I think was essential for us to successfully make the journey. You were able not to think about the horrible situation we were going through and just focus on Daisy's care and getting to the border, and then obviously making our way to Poland, through Poland to the airport.
That is the power of a dog, isn't it?
Unbelievable. For 30 kilometers, she sat around my neck in a little carrier with just her head poking through the mesh. I'd have to check to make sure she was okay because she was so quiet, and her little eyes would look up. No complaining whatsoever. I mean, we were traveling for over 24 hours, even the train before we got to Lviv. And she was perfect throughout. This is when you have a family member, a companion that you're meant to be with.
Talk me through the timeline then, the date that you left and how long it took you to get to these places and how you did it.
The invasion started, and then we made the decision to get a train to Lviv, and we kind of booked one as a backup plan. We were humming and hawing as to whether to go, and then we thought, okay, let's go. Let's just get ready and go and see how far we get. And I didn't actually think we'd make it out of Odesa because of the number of people leaving to escape. I think it was fate because we arrived on the platform as the train was moving off, and the train was already late leaving. And we thought there might be queues and queues of people. I don't know why. I still don't know how. But there was like the Red Sea. There's parting of the Red Sea, and this empty gap with queues of people on one side, queues of people on the other. And we kind of, for some reason, it just opened up in front of us and we were able to go straight to the train. I was throwing my suitcases on as the train started to move, and the conductor was shouting at us to hurry up. And we got in, we found the cab we'd ordered, and met these two strangers, this lovely couple who also were living in Odessa, and they fell in love with Daisy as well. So between the four of us, we were taking turns. Daisy was sleeping with them, sleeping with us. It was beautiful. But again, you could see they were tense at first. This couple, they calmed down and were. I think it helped them too, the journey. And we travelled through the night from Odessa to Lviv, and we arrived about 4 hours late in Lviv because the conductor got a warning that the Russians were detecting the movement of trains, and the Ukrainian authorities told the train that they had to slow down to avoid detection. Halfway through the night, looking out of the black through the window, you could see the sky suddenly light up with fire. The horizon was full of fire. So we knew that the troubles were close to home.
What's going through your head when you're seeing that?
Making sure Daisy's okay. It, it was literally she was the perfect distraction for all of us in there. We weren't worrying or thinking about what was going on around us because there's a sense of detachment from reality. As with any normal people, you don't expect it to happen to you. So when it is happening to you, you still don't believe it's happening to you until literally it's right on your doorstep and right in your face. So wasn't really worried or thinking about that, but we were trying to work out what we were going to do when we arrived in Lviv because we didn't have a place to stay, and we didn't know how long we would have to be there waiting for the relocated embassy to process Natalya's visa.
So you get to Lviv, you get off the train. What happens next?
Well, we said goodbye to the couple who were with us overnight. We waited ages to try and get a taxi. The area was bustling with activity. It was amazing to see how, even though it was very busy, it was quite calm. But inside the station, it was crazy. It was absolutely packed because the trains were continuing on to Poland. So we decided not to do that because I didn't want to put Natalya or Daisy in a situation where we were getting crushed by the crowds.
And all through this, was Daisy very calm?
She's in a little carry case. During the whole journey of about a week, I would say she piped up maybe 2-3 times, and that was just because she really desperately needed to go to the washroom. Other than that, you didn't hear a complaint out of her, the whole time. And during the walk to the border and then queuing to the crossing to Poland, the temperature dipped to probably about -5, -8, and then it was snowing heavily, and she just didn't complain. So I had to keep checking to actually make sure she was okay because of how quiet she was. Whenever I let her out, she was like she was on vacation, not whimpering, not anything negative from her at all, just positive vibes.
So how long was that walk to the border? You didn't do it by car, you walked it.
Yeah, we got a taxi from the center of Lviv. The taxi company said they'd only drive us as far as the queue. The driver managed to get through a couple of roadblocks and past some of the queue by telling the Ukrainian security, that Natalya was pregnant. So we got out, we walked, we bumped into another couple, coincidentally, and we walked with them all day. Every so often, there would be little food stops for people evacuating, and they'd either go around handing food out to the people stuck in their cars, or offer us food as well. But we were sort of in autopilot, so we're dragging the suitcases through the mud and everything. And at first, it was quite pleasant weather, but knowing that we had so many miles to walk, I hate walking my luggage across the terminal building at an airport with the smooth surfaces you get there. So we just had to switch off the pain. It was about 30 kilometers. It would have been another 20. I managed to persuade one of the security guys to put us in a car and drive us the wrong side of the road to the border, where we had another queue waiting for us. But without that, I don't think we'd have made it, because the weather had started snowing, and there weren't that many people walking in relation to the cars. Most people were stuck in the cars. But to be honest, the cars weren't moving anywhere. They were just stopped for miles and miles. The biggest traffic jam I've ever seen in my life. I was happier to be moving towards the border
You carried Daisy part of the way,
all of the way. She
but
just
you
sat
say
on the
you had her
bag.
around your neck.
I didn't know what I looked like. Natalia was too tired to take a photograph, but it would have looked amusing, because just all these miles of having her hanging around my neck. Yeah.
And aren't you
And yeah,
pleased you've got a little dog rather
well,
than some giant breed?
yeah. I mean, other than my neck aching at the end of it, it really, it didn't matter. I was determined to get us through.
I mean, 4-month-old dogs, they can be hard work.
She took her opportunities when they presented themselves. When we were in the hotel. In fact, we stayed in the hotel in Poland that this lovely family put us into. We got there. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and the lady noticed Daisy and said, "Oh, we have a no pet policy, but I'll pretend I didn't see anything. You'll have to speak to the staff in the next day." We ended up staying there like three odd days. We just sneaked her past every time. She even went down to eat with us, but she's so quiet. She just sat in the bag. But when we got her out in the hotel room, she was alive. She was making up for her lost time running around.
You got
Yeah.
her into Poland fine.
No problem at all. They have an open policy in this horrible war for evacuees with their pets. Right by us was a young boy, but he was carrying his 2 pet rats, and a couple of girls, I think it was, with rescue dog. The rescue dog was quite large, so for the most part, he was being carried like a baby over the shoulder. We definitely couldn't complain about how Daisy was traveling, really.
That's
Yeah.
what's moved so many of us in the UK, is how devoted Ukrainians do seem to be to their pets.
Absolutely. I really have to take my hat off to the countries around Ukraine who've opened up their borders in a way that would normally be unimaginable. All I saw was love and support. It was something that I'll never forget.
When you arrived in the UK, things didn't go quite so well in terms of Daisy. Explain to me what has happened since you arrived in early March.
We were just about to be handed back Natalia's passport to go and get our luggage and carrying on into the UK, when a lady came running across all the different stalls and shouting, "Stop anyone with a dog." I put my hand up and said, yeah, I've got a dog. They didn't believe me at first because, again, Daisy doesn't sort of stick out. And I'm like, no, I've got a dog. And she laughed and said, no, you don't. And I said, yeah, I do. I've got a dog. And she's like, no, no, you don't. Yes, I do. So anyway, they took us into the detention room, and we sat in there whilst they gathered the information that we had, the documentation and vaccination records we were able to get out of Odesa with. The problem we had is because of Daisy's age, she was in the process of receiving all the normal international travel vaccinations and documentation. But in the Ukraine, they don't deliver or give you your international pet passport and your vaccination record until you've completed everything. They hold on to it so that obviously they know that all the right information is going inside it. We weren't able to get that information from the vet before we left because of the rush of escaping. So when we arrived, they took a long time to decide to err on the side of caution. And we explained that because Daisy was being prepared as a support dog, and also we knew there was a likelihood of having to travel out of Ukraine, that we kept her in quarantine since birth, basically. She hadn't been in any contact with other animals. But they decided to put her in quarantine and issue us with an importer's contravention notice, which is definitely upsetting. And it was the worst part of our journey. And Natalya was absolutely distraught. It was just really sad to see that at the end of this really difficult journey, that then that happened. It was like a hammer blow, to be honest. So for the first couple of days coming into the UK, probably longer, and I'm sure Natalya would say that the sense of relief of having got safely out and into the UK was definitely not there. It just wasn't the ending that we were hoping for, which is why we're trying to not just for us, but for other people, get things changed so that it's appropriate for the safety of the people here, because we don't want to make sure, it's a rabies-free country, obviously, and we want to respect that. But I think case by case, they need to understand that these beloved pets and support dogs, guide dogs even, are a necessity for people who've been traumatized by these events.
Honestly, it's heartbreaking, as I'm sure any dog owner, any dog lover would understand. You've gone all that way. She's kept you going.
Yeah.
And then essentially she's ripped away from you once you get to the promised land, if you like.
She's also at the early stages of being trained for all the things that the dogs have to do outside, and also for walking properly. So it's doubly hard for us in the sense that we were being so successful at getting that underway. And to be honest, we have no real idea as far as I'm aware, they're not doing any type of training for her at all at the moment. We're hoping to have some positive news, whether it's just knowing she's okay. And obviously the ultimate goal is to try and have her prison sentence reduced, as it were.
Hello, gorgeous girl. I've heard so much about you. She looks
Yes.
very content.
I still like to call her Puppy, but she's about 4 times the size she was when we crossed the border. In a way, thankfully, because I don't think she'd have fitted in the bag around my neck otherwise.
My dogs do this thing where they turn their head.
Oh, cock their head. She can't hear you because of the earphones unless I put the headphones in her.
Yeah, she's clever, but she's not that clever. So how relieved are you to have her at home with you all?
She's a great distraction from the world's problems, and she demands as much attention as little Jordan, our new baby.
It's obvious that you both absolutely adore Daisy, but that relationship after that journey you've been on must be even deeper.
We really would have struggled to deal with the whole traumatic event without her by our side. She just provided that sort of lovely energy that helped us get through that whole period of time, taking care of her. she really seemed to understand that it was a difficult event and behaved throughout. And I think I'll never forget, that was such a strong bonding experience for all of us, that she'll always have a special place in our hearts and continues to do so. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's something we'll never forget.